Hello there and welcome to a new video. I am KSteve of KStevMath and I want to talk to you today about compasses. So those of you going into geometry, if you have this word on your supply list, compass, it's not talking about the kind of compass you use to find north, south, east, and west. It's talking about a tool of math that lets you recreate things in a hopefully precise manner. So I've got a couple compasses, maybe actually three right here that I want us to look at. So I also just wanted to kind of walk through. I got this fancy set of math tools from a store, and I thought, you know, maybe some of the parents out there are wondering, what are these tools used for, and are they worth it? So I thought I'd also talk about that a little bit, because there's a lot of stuff in here, and you might be like, oh wow, there's so much in there, we should totally get it, right? So let's look through and see what in here is useful and what is not useful. Alright, so definitely have some useful things here. Very nice ruler, 6-inch ruler, which honestly is probably a decent size for like even in algebra where you're trying to draw lines, because you're probably not going to be drawing lines all the way across the page. You're just going to be drawing, you know, fairly short lines, so definitely helpful. We've got this triangle shape here, which based on, I can't get it off the table, based on just what it looks like, this looks like it's probably a 30, 60, 90 triangle, and part of me is like, oh, well, this doesn't necessarily seem super helpful, but I suppose if you are needing, whenever you get to special right triangles in geometry, if you're needing to draw 30, 60, 90 triangles and you want to draw them somewhat accurately, you could use the inside actually. See, that's a very nice looking 30, 60, 90 triangle. So here's our right angle, here's our 60, and here's our 30, and so ta-da! Looks beautiful. So I don't know that I see a ton of use for this otherwise. Like, I can't think as a math teacher of what else we might use this for other than, you know, attempting to maybe make right angles, which there might be easier ways of doing that as well. And then this, in a similar way, it looks like a 45, 45, 90 triangle. So again, because it's got this inside cutout, and I don't know if that's what was intended by the person who made this or what, but to me that inside cutout seems the most helpful part of this, because now I have a 45, 45, 90 triangle that I feel like is actually a helpful size, so that's pretty neat. Next we've got a protractor, and I meant to find another protractor to kind of compare to this, and I know I have protractors lying around, but I don't know where they are at this particular moment, but this protractor seems about as good as any protractor would be. Maybe we'll measure some angles later to actually see if we can figure out if it's any good or not. And then we've got a little pencil sharpener to go with our little pencil, which is supposed to go in one of the two compasses that comes in this set. Now I will kind of warn you, if you are a parent looking at this, think about how your child acts because this compass has a really sharp point, and there are actually quite a few compasses out there that have a super sharp point. Even this one that I have from Amazon, which is mostly, you know, feels mostly like cheap plastic, the point is still quite sharp. So definitely have a conversation with your kiddo about not even playfully poking other people with their compass, because you could really hurt somebody with that. They actually have some special compasses that some schools might have that don't have any points, which is nice. So I've got the pencil in this compass, and you tighten it up so that the pencil doesn't move, and then the reason it's so sharp is because it's supposed to kind of dig into the paper a little bit, so that as you're, you know, trying to rotate around, the midpoint is not moving. So if I'm trying to draw a circle here, and it's been months since I've done this, so it's definitely something that you get better with practice. So if you think you'll be doing a lot of compass work, hey, that's not too bad, a lot of compass work in geometry this year, getting that compass out and doing some practice would be a great idea. Also, there may be some time the first day you use the compass in class to maybe do some playing around, or that may be something that your teacher does not want to waste class time on because there's too many other things to do. So it might be good for you to play around with it ahead of time, just so you don't feel like bummed that you don't get to mess with it during class. This looks like an eraser. These white erasers tend to be really, really good, although they also, if you leave them in a box for like a year with other things, tend to like have some sort of chemical reaction and melt and attach to other things. So just, don't set it in a box with other things for a year or so. This is another compass, and this compass, instead of it having a full-on pencil, has this little lead, and they gave us extra lead to go with it. I don't know that I've ever actually used a compass like this, incidentally. And so, like, the difference between these two, I mean, I don't even know. I think this one would be a little bit lighter, maybe. So maybe that's kind of what it's got going for it. But still, we've got a sharp point, and we still have the same kind of idea of how we want to kind of use it. Now I just drew a couple of circles, and when we're doing actual, actual constructions in geometry, we very rarely make a whole circle. We are usually more concerned with making kind of an arc, maybe a half circle at most, so keep that in mind as you're practicing. You're really, I feel like I'm doing a terrible job of showing this, you're really supposed to be making it so you want the point to stick where it's at, because if it moves, then we got to start over. You also want to do it in such a way that you're not accidentally making this larger or smaller, because like if we're drawing a circle, we want it to be the same radius the whole way around, right? And in fact, you might actually have more success at first with putting it down on the paper and then moving your paper instead, and getting kind of a feel for how do I make it move on the paper. So that's kind of a tip I've got there. But you can make some really cool pictures, I think, with a compass. So that's all of the stuff that was in that set. Like I said, I got it from a store that there's probably a similar store around you, but they're not paying me to advertise, so I'm not going to say anything about it. This is actually also probably from the same store, because I just realized it has the brand on it. So this is kind of the cheaper version of getting just the compass itself. What I like about this is that it has measurement on here to help you. So if you knew that you needed to draw a circle with a 1 inch radius or 1 centimeter radius or whatever it might be, then you can measure that based on these little marks. So that's cool, and that's not something that was on the other one. Now I don't know how likely it is that you would want we could always do the same thing by using an actual ruler to measure, right? But it's just kind of like an extra step, right, to do that, whereas this compass actually has that information directly on it. What else? So we can loosen it and move it as we need to. I think that your best way of doing this, if I understand correctly how compasses work, is to have these be kind of at the same spot, as far as how, you don't want your pencil to be way out here. You don't want your pencil to be super short compared to where the point is, so you want them to be at about the same distance. And then I do think it's easier to maybe turn it whenever it's big like this, versus whenever you have a smaller circle you're trying to do. But it can be pretty fun to just see how good of a circle you can make as you're going around. See, that's a pretty good circle. Another tip I have for you also as you're doing things like this is you might think about actually picking a place to mark the middle. So this, since it's a point, kind of actually marked the middle anyway. But that way, if you have to pick up for some reason your compass, you'll know exactly where you want to put it back. Or if we wanted to make multiple circles around this point, we'd know exactly where it was at. And so we just kind of go around. See, if I pick it up, and I have that dot there, which is not necessarily super clear, I don't think, on the camera, then I know where it is exactly. So that's helpful. So that's kind of just a look at some of the tools that are out there. Like I said, I don't know how helpful these are, other than that, if you really want to draw nice special right triangles, the inside of these would help with that. But the other tools are, I think, super helpful. Having a nice ruler. Wait. Oh, this is a different one than I have. I was like, where did that come from? Having a ruler is helpful. Having a protractor is going to be helpful. Having a compass is helpful. I have that set, though, came with 2. I'm not sure why. But definitely play around with them some before you actually have to get started. Before you actually have to get started with class. And that will help you out probably a lot. Thanks for watching. There's so much out there, parents, to choose from, that it can be kind of hard to know, what does my child need, what does my child not need. If on your geometry school supply list or whatever, if it says compass and protractor, all you need is a compass and protractor. If you want to get the extra fancy set, you can, but honestly a lot of that is just going to be a distraction for them probably, so it's kind of up to you on whether or not you want to go with that whole big set or just get the compass and protractor. It also may depend on just what is available in store or online in a convenient sort of way. So hopefully this information was helpful to you. Please subscribe, like, comment, all that jazz, and I'll see you in another video.